Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday webinar. My name is Emma Bayliss and I look after equine and competitions at IDA. Joining me tonight is Abigail Leach, who is the horse rehoming coordinator at the Blue Cross in Burford, Oxfordshire. If you have any questions for Abby at all during tonight's webinar, please pop them in the chat box and we'll go through them as we move along. Tonight's session will be recorded and it'll be on our on our My IDA YouTube channel next week. Hi Abby, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your job and the day-to-day things that you do at the Blue Cross?
Yep, so hi everyone. As Emma said, I am rehoming coordinator at the Burford horse unit. My job involves sort of rehoming horses from our centre, but also a massive part of my job is our external sort of rehoming scheme. So the main one being home direct. So I basically people in private situations, and this would be open to sort of you guys at your RDA centres if you ever wanted to sort of move horses or ponies on without selling them, is a rehoming scheme that we set up. So it basically was done so that horses didn't have to always come into our centre to be rehomed or have our help. So we try and keep the spaces at the centre for horses of like a high welfare need. So we work really closely under the umbrella of the National Equine Welfare Council. So we work with other charities such as RSPCA, World Horse Welfare, Bransby. So we work in a lot of like big, so if like there's big welfare lifts, we'll take sort of large groups of horses in. So they would be like high needs, so they'd need to come into the centre so they can have all that veterinary and behaviour intervention. So the Home Direct scheme was set up so that we could help those people in the sort of private sector to help rehome their horses responsibly. So part of my role is going through those applications, going out assessing the horses, so suitability for rehoming. And then advertising them as we do with any pony that's at the centre, horse or pony at the centre, and with a view with sort of getting them a home, and at the point of rehoming they're transferred into our ownership. So do you want me to sort of talk about rehoming a bit, Emma?
Yeah, I think I'm already a little bit jealous of your job.
Yeah.
If you could tell us a bit about what type of horses and ponies that you normally have for rehoming.
So we get a complete mix, so from Shetlands to, we've had Shires, absolutely everything. Like I say, because we sort of take in a lot of horses through other charities and sort of RSPCA councils, those sort of frontline welfare situations. So we get absolutely all sorts. But our sort of main horse or pony that we get is cobs, coloured cobs.
We like cobs in IDA.
Yeah, I was going to say we wouldn't be without them. So we've a lot of the horses that we get are non-ridden. So and because that's through either like there's a veterinary issue or behaviour, but we do have a lot of younger horses and ponies coming through. So with we always rehome those with a view that they would have a job, so they could be backed or driven later on, later when they're obviously old enough to do so. So we would rehome those. We call those like projects to rehome. But again, the larger cobs or the larger horses, they are sort of fewer and far between, as you can imagine. Because where they're coming from, where it's sort of large groups of horses that have obviously been running together, you would get the sort of smaller cob types, but we do get absolutely all sorts. We've successfully rehomed quite a lot of ponies to sort of equine assisted learning therapy centres. One of your RDA centres, so the one in Bristol, they've got two of our Shetlands, which they do like the non-ridden provision for, which is great, which I know is something that you're sort of growing in RDA now.
Absolutely.
And they've also got I need to get a more recent update, but they did take a like rising 4-year-old of ours, which they're backing at the centre. So it'd be interesting to see how his career is getting on, because I know they were just at the point of actually getting on him. They've done all the groundwork. So yeah, we absolutely do get ponies that would be suitable, and horses that would be suitable for your centres.
Absolutely. I think for us as well, if we've got some of the groups who are, have the land and have facilities and the expertise to be able to do that sort of thing, it's a great way, isn't it? Investing in that horse's future and for the group as well, put all the work in themselves. So if our groups had a horse or pony from you, would they own the pony, or does the Blue Cross always own them?
So all of our horses and ponies go out initially like on a loan contract. So again, this sort of works both. So it works for both ways to make sure you're happy and the horse or pony is suited to the environment. And we have a team of welfare coordinators. So when the horse or pony initially goes out, you'll have someone as your support, so you can always sort of message, get in touch if you need any help or advice. But also, they would be the person that would, prior to rehoming, we'd come and do like a check. We call it a home check. So we'd come out, check your, which I know a lot of your centres are lovely, but that would be part of our process, is to come out, check your yard. We'd obviously check that horse would be suitable for that environment. So they would go out on loan initially with a view to transfer later down the line. And it normally is after sort of a year, and, check that, and especially if they're a youngster. So if we've rehomed anything under 4, which has a view that is going to be backed, we wouldn't transfer until the backing has sort of taken place, to make sure it's suitable and it is sort of working out. So again, that's great for homes to have that support and the view. And I mean, even if we do transfer, which isn't, you don't have to take transfer, but even if we do, sort of once a Blue Cross horse, always a Blue Cross horse. We'd always say if situation changes or circumstances change, or come back to us, and we would rehome them or take them back. So
So say if a group, for example, had an elderly horse that didn't have any health issues but maybe needed retiring, is that something that you could perhaps sort of work into your home direct scheme and move that horse to a companion home, so that would then make space potentially for another one? Yeah,
absolutely. And the majority of horses and ponies that we rehome are non-ridden companions, because for those reasons exactly, they've either retired from ridden work, or there's been a behaviour issue or veterinary issue that's meant we're not in a position that if we're worried about anything with a horse, we're never going to push it to go into a ridden career. And it's amazing really how many homes do want the non-ridden, because they want companions for their own horse. And I think the non-ridden side of horses has grown massively, hasn't it? And it's
absolutely, certainly with an IDA we've introduced things like pony, and it's
some people just they've got land, or they just want that time and interaction with the horse. It's not always about the riding. So we're really successful at rehoming non-ridden. So
what sort of fees would be involved for rehoming a horse in the Blue Cross?
So our fees are just about to change on the 1st of Jan. So the new fees, so a non-ridden companion, so any size and type, is £150 donation. Projects, so that's, as I said, what we would name anything that we believe to be, could be backed, is £300. So that's horse or pony. If we have a horse that's capable, like a hacking horse, we ask for £500, and anything that can school, hack, so your all-rounder type, is £600.
Okay, so it's still, a relatively competitive way of acquiring a horse.
So I think those fees are sort of more than fair,
compared to the market at the moment.
I was going to say
you could have 10 instead of 1.
Absolutely.
Music to your ears. So from a your first initial interest, if you see a horse on your website, what are all the stages from actually seeing that horse to then actually physically having the horse in your possession?
So you would apply for the horse. So we have online forms, so you can either fill in a generic, what we call a home finder form, or click on horses on our website and fill in, it'll ask for your information. We'll they go into like a shared inbox. So there's two horse units at Blue Cross. So myself, we're at Burford in Oxfordshire, and then our other horse unit is Ralston upon Dove in Staffordshire. So we work sort of together, and we'll always try and find, if people apply, we'll sort of work between both centres.
Yeah.
Once you've applied, we'd ask for sort of photos of facilities, or if you've got a website, we'll have a little look, because like again, we're always trying to match a horse's suitability, because it's environment is just as important. Some of them prefer a busy atmosphere, some prefer the quieter.
Yeah.
If we've matched you, we would invite you to come and meet the horse. So again, if it was a horse that's possibly on or pony on the home direct scheme, we would meet them externally. Otherwise you'd be invited to one of the centres where the horse is kept. If you're happy and you want to proceed, we've then organised a home visit, and after that the horse would be checked, have a veterinary health check, as we call them. So as standard, before any horse or pony is advertised, they have a vet check, and then they have one just before they leave, and then the horse would be free to go. So that process can be as quick as obviously if everyone can do an appointment, it can be as quick as sort of 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, it can, if you can get things moving, if people are, if everyone's free and able to do the appointments, it can be quite a quick process. So
as part of the vet checks before a horse leaves you, is that sort of similar to what you would have like in a 2-stage vetting, for example? Or?
Yeah, so it's heart, eyes, lungs, skin on there. We require like the horse's dentistry to be checked. Obviously we've got records of everything we do anyway, but for those external horses, so say that they're on the home direct scheme where they're still in the care of the owner, they'll have dentistry, trot up, and that's same for those in the sensible. Obviously we would know exactly what we've done with them, but so it's similar to low grade vetting, but you can't ever use that, otherwise the vets charge us a fortune. You can't use the word vetting. It's just a health check.
Yeah.
So
and completely lost my train of thought, what I was going to say now. So if you had a horse from you and it didn't work out for whatever reason, whether it was straight away or whether it was a bit further down the line, can they come back to you, even if the ownership had transferred?
Yeah, they can come back. So all we ask is, so in our loan contract, we ask for a 3-month notice period. If we can get the horse back sooner, we absolutely would, but we do set intakes to our centre. So we have 4 days per month, and it's for biosecurity reasons. So new intakes of horses are kept completely separate to our main herds.
Mm-hmm.
So as routine, we strangles test everything, and then they're kept completely separate until we know they've had the all clear. They're seen by a vet in that time. So that's the only reason that would is just fitting them into an intake. And so we'd normally can accommodate sooner. And also if the horse is, say it's just not suited to the environment, or it hasn't worked out and you're not in an immediate rush, we would then advertise. We can also advertise them from and try and move them straight to another home, as opposed to always returning if there isn't an issue. So,
and do you have any requirements? So like, do you require that horses are out, that they have to be vaccinated, or teeth check, that sort of thing?
So routine care, so vaccinations according to Jockey Club rules, so your yearly flu and tet, and like yearly dentistry unless required sooner or slightly different. So again, when we do our health checks, obviously the vet would make any notes on there. So it might be older horses are 6 monthly dentals, and so we give you like with every horse that's rehome, you get a rehoming pack, and on there you'll have next vaccination, last seen the farrier, when due, worming, weight. Big one is weight. We struggle.
I can imagine.
Struggle. A lot of overweight horses this year. So yeah, so all that would be, and again, when you have, as I said about our welfare coordinators that would be doing visits, they would just ask to see that information, and they, you know, check the passport and check the vaccinations are up to date. And then when that horse is on loan, all of those costs are down to you as the borrower. We call them borrowers that have our horses. So yeah.
So how about, for example, if you had a Blue Cross horse in your care and it went lame, or it developed ulcers or something like that, who would be liable for those costs?
So that would be you as the borrower, as the loaning home. So yeah, all of those costs are your responsibility. Again, if any of those issues were affecting, you know, that horse's ability to possibly work, then obviously we would have them back, and if it wasn't working. But yeah, all those sort of veterinary costs would be down to you as the home.
And if a home didn't work out, and you know a group or a person needed to move a horse on fairly urgently, is that something you could accommodate, or is it generally sort of a certain amount of time that takes for that process to happen?
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that is that would stop us is our intake dates, because obviously with the horses all needing companions, that's why we always do it, and we have to sort of work it like clockwork, because otherwise if one horse is coming in, it's then you've got to obviously keep that separate again from, and they need to have companionship. So yeah, that's why. But we're lucky that we've also got what we call support yards. So we have a couple of yards that we pay and have horses there as well. So like I said, we're always trying to keep the space at the centre for those that have got really high training needs, or need like veterinary intervention and things. So yeah, we're really lucky, and some of those yards would be able to accommodate us moving horses there if it was sort of a bit more of an emergency type situation. But we'll do the best we can. We always would do.
You must have to be so organised to manage the movement of horses around the country, like you do.
Yeah, it's yeah, because I do like the intakes every month as well. So yeah, it's just knowing where they all are, where they're coming from, making sure the paperwork's correct. And yeah, and like at the moment, I think we've got 750 horses approximately on loan right now. So in homes. So yeah, it's a lot.
And has the current horse market, with how crazy it is at the moment with the prices, have you found that's had any kind of effect on your intake?
So like I said, we often have like a steady stream through other charities. I would say it's probably affected rehoming more. I think we've definitely we saw a lot more people applying and actually writing in, you know, in their applications that they can't afford to buy a horse in the current market. It's just unfortunate we just don't have you know, always, we don't have the 15 hand plus safe. You know, we could rehome thousands of those.
Absolutely, yeah. We could be billionaires if we could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think definitely, I think as regards intake, with everything that's happened with COVID, we were expecting to have a lot more people sort of, you know, requiring help, but that actually hasn't changed. We've always had a steady stream of people, you know, asking for help, but it hasn't actually increased from COVID. And I think it is because the horse market has gone crazy, and people are selling horses for a lot of money. And I suppose, you know, even those less desirable people are still putting, you know, they're still on the market, and people are still getting money for them. So
absolutely, I guess if they can advertise them and still get some money regardless of the horse, they're going to do that rather than, you know, send them to you. And do you sort of anticipate that may change in the future, that, you know, we may have people who bought horses during lockdown and then just suddenly find they haven't got the time, or they've gone back to work or university and don't know what to do with their horse?
Yeah, I think so, because I think as well, and I have heard of a couple of stories just through people I know, of people that have sort of taken on horses or bought horses and not actually gone to try them or see them, because obviously the travel restrictions at the time. And, you know, of course, is very different than seeing a video of you know, a horse being ridden or handled, and then you change its environment and suddenly everything's quite different. Yeah, so and I think that, you know, we've sort of forecast that possibly next year we'll see the knock-on effect of what's gone on sort of with COVID. So yeah.
I mean, how do you pre-plan for something like that? So you talk about you have support yards, but if you're sort of anticipating a massive influx of this sort of thing, like how do you plan for that?
So we're always ready to a certain extent, but again, I mean, obviously resourcing those things, just, you know, large numbers of horses, as you know, you need a lot of bodies to look after them, and especially if you know, especially if you've got those with, yeah, like high training behavior needs. Again, it's just sometimes I think as much as we plan, we might have to be prepared that we can't always help absolutely everybody. Yeah. But like I say, we're lucky that we've got some great support yards that, you know, always have some extra space for us. So I think and we're always looking to have more of those, so we've always got people sort of signing on and you know, in the pipeline. So I think we'll be okay, but yeah.
So if there's anybody out there who's watching this who happens to have land and could support you.
Yeah, so ideally anyone within an hour of the centre at the moment is how we've worked it, and again, this would be something we're hoping to grow in years to come, but purely so that we can come out and do sort of training with individuals. But yeah, anyone that feels that they that might be something that interests them, and having horses you know, basically like on a livery basis, and we'll happily sort of work with you, train you, and we cover all sort of the costs, so like, you know, all the vet care and you know, ideally we'd love people, and we do have our support yards where people don't charge us for the actual care, and we just pay for, yeah, feed, bedding, vets. So if you're one of those people, definitely get in touch. But we do, like I say, we do, yeah, but we do pay for services as well. So again, it just means that at the centre we can utilise people's skills more. So in those horses that you know, are sort of we've worked with and they're now ready to move on, it's great that we can put them out in those support yards, because one, it's like that halfway step to rehoming, check that it's going to work for that horse, and then how they react to moving. Obviously we want to minimise the movement as much as possible, but it also means then those, like we get with really high needs, we can have in with the team that are really experienced and put more time into those, which again helps them with our rehoming numbers. We can just keep rolling. So
once you've assessed the horses when they come in for health needs, if health-wise they're all fine, how do you look at them in terms of their personality and behaviour to try and decide what kind of home they need?
Yeah, so we so we follow, a lot of our training is equitation science. So you guys might have seen it and do have a look online. It's really interesting. Dr. Andrew McLean, he runs also. We've been following sort of, and it's basically based on how horses learn, and that's where we base all our training on. So the first part of that is like the basic responses. So you know, your stop, go, response, turn. So that's how we do all of our training. So as part of those initial assessments, we'll be starting with just basic responses. I mean, it might go even a step further. So if we've got completely unhandled ponies and horses, obviously to start with, it's just gaining a bit of trust, a bit of patience, and just them being used to sort of you just being in their space. So sometimes these horses, you know, have been, you know, they've been part of a massive fly grazing group that have had no human interaction at all. Yeah, so so that's how we would sort of go you know, about our assessments, and it's amazing how quickly they do sort of turn around and come on, you know, and so that's sort of when they're going through that first month of admissions, that's when they'd have all of their initial sort of assessments, and once they go into what we call our main herd, so on our main site, they'll be allocated to a groom, and every training session, also whether that be, you know, you're just going up to catch it and say, give it a scratch, everything is recorded. So we have what are called, we call them training wheels. So everything's recorded for every single session that anyone does with a horse. So obviously you can build a picture, you know, ready for rehoming.
And is that something you do with every horse that comes in?
Yeah. So it sort of sounds a lot more probably time consuming than it is, because if you do it all the time, obviously, like at the end of the day, the girls just get their training wheels out, fill them all out, and then, you know, you've built a picture. And we've got a training supervisor, so she, you know, designs training plans for horses, supports the team. And so so you get an idea pretty quickly of who they are, these horses and ponies, and what they're going to be suitable for, because again, part of that is, you know, are they suitable for a ridden career? Can they be backed? Again, linking that with our, you know, the veterinary assessment. So yeah, we have a vet on site every week, farrier on site, so all together paint the, you know, you get an idea of what their future is going to be, or what we'd hope for them. So
if somebody had a horse from you and they needed a bit of guidance in terms of training, can they contact you and, you know, have a bit of help?
So we've as you can imagine, like the horses, especially for those that come from real sort of compromised backgrounds, it can take a long time, and then actually go into a home, you know, they can sort of take steps back, and we'll always be there to support. So our welfare coordinators would be the first point of call, but we also do offer help from the centre, again, because we would have done all the work with them. And like Grace, who's our training supervisor, she would lead that. And again, we do a lot of things like, and again, had to do more because of COVID, but we record a lot of training sessions that we do. So if a horse is going into a home and it's had, say, it's struggled maybe with feet picking, we'll video us doing training sessions with the horse so that we can send them to the home to show exactly how we've done it. So, but
that's
we always do. So it might be if someone, you know, is miles away and they're having a trouble with something, we'll do a video of how we would train it in the centre, and then we can send that to them in the first instance for them to sort of follow.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So my final question.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one yourself? Have you ever been tempted? Do you get tempted on a daily basis? Because I know I would.
No, it is really tempting. But I'm horseless. I don't have a horse actually myself. I know. But I think it's because bank balance, and I'm saving for a house. So I had to make that decision a few years ago, and I'm lucky enough I've got friends with horses and obviously working with them, and I still teach, so I still get, you know, plenty of time and my horse fix, as it were. But
every day.
Every day. So I'm lucky, really. So but I do miss having my own, but that's the thing, is how would you choose?
Oh, absolutely. I suppose you get the best of both worlds, don't you? You get your time to yourself, and you have your horse fix every day, and you're doing such an amazing job. So if people would like any more information about having a horse from you, would they email you or have a look on the website?
I'd head to the website in the first instance, if you www.bluecross.org.uk, and also on there, if anyone wants to rehome their horse through possibly the Home Direct scheme, you'll see there is a tab that you can go to that says looking to rehome your own horse. But that address is helpmyhorse@bluecross.org.uk. If you email that, you get an automatic bounce back with all the forms to fill in, and also it comes into an inbox. If you've added any extra questions there, it'll be myself that will pick that up, so I'll come back to you.
So hopefully from this webinar you'll have lots of people wanting horses. Hopefully not too many people wanting to give you horses.
Yes.
Oh, that's great, Abby. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate that. Hopefully we'll be able to rehome lots of horses into IDA groups for many different things that we do. Yeah,
that would be fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you everybody for watching as well. You can find this webinar on our YouTube channel, hopefully beginning of next week. So good night everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.